Hi, I'm Mason, and this is Cara, and we are the host of Expert Secrets Revealed, Conversations in Health and Fitness, also known as the ESR Show, sponsored by Syntrax Nutrition. It's a show built around exceptional people and ideas that are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire.
Yeah.
And on today's show, we've invited a very special guest. Her name is Gizelle Martinez. And in 2014, she was 24 years old and 5'2" and 246 pounds.
Yes.
And by 2015, she had exhausted what she felt were all her other options as it related to losing weight. And she had suffered from depression, sleep apnea, and a host of other health conditions. And she went with bariatric surgery as a tool that, combined with proper nutrition and exercise, has helped her keep 100 pounds off, which we think is outstanding, especially given that so many people haven't been able to keep the weight off.
That's right.
So we wanted to invite her today to share some of her secrets in the hopes that it might inspire and educate others that may be traveling along a similar path. So welcome.
Right. Hi, Gizelle. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Mason and Cara.
Good. We're so glad that you're with us. So before we get into your story, I want to touch base a little bit on, I read your bio and you said that you tried absolutely everything to lose weight. Tell us about that struggle. Yeah, tell us about that.
So it was a really dark journey. I mean, I was morbidly obese as a child. So I went through depression, which was coupled with having, unfortunately, eating disorders. I had accompanied with age. I tried working out. I went to gym. I had different diets. I mean, every diet you can think of. I tried pills. It was just so many things. I tried every different method possible and nothing could work. And I just felt like I was failing. And finally, I took a step forward and said, Doc, I need help. What are my options? I need to live. And that's where the, gastric sleeve came into my life. And I started learning more about it. And it was the best decision I've ever made.
That's awesome. So tell us, you said that you went to the doctor when you started, you were just at the end of your road with this. How do you find a good bariatric doctor? What did you do?
So the first thing I did was really, honestly, I was pushed by some people to take into that route. So I was really afraid. But what helped me was learning about the doctors in my area, the hospitals that they practiced in, and learning more about their background and why they're the doctors that they are. So every website, they have their biography. They say why, they say how many patients they've had, how long they've been in practice, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then you also see the hospitals that they practice out of. For me, it was very important for me to see both of those combined. Because although my doctor can be great, if he worked out of a hospital or she worked out of a hospital that didn't have as much care as I had needed or necessarily wanted, I did not feel comfortable. So I did my background on those two to have a sure decision that I would be in the best hands in both places.
Okay. And now your bariatric doctor was in New Jersey, right?
Yes. So my bariatric doctor in Montclair Surgical Care in Glenridge, I believe it is. I could have the wrong town. I'm sorry if I do. But they worked out of Mountainside Hospital many years ago. But Dr. Fresco performed my surgery and Dr. Strom, amazing bariatric surgeons, they're still there. My dietitian, Katie, she works right out of that office. She's also part of the Syntrax team, coincidentally. But they're just a powerful team, and they just really care about everyone that walks into that office. They want to see success stories walk out. And that was big for me too. There was no judgment. There was care. They also gave a lot of resources to help you. And I learned that a lot of doctors didn't provide that. Having that from my doctor made the sure decision. Knowing that I had a doctor that cared about what happened next or what was going on in my journey transitioning was so important. After reading horror stories of people not knowing what to do after, knowing I had my doctor and my dietitian lined up with everything at hand with a handbook for me was so comfortable. It was a no-brainer. I picked the right doctor and definitely the right dietitian too.
I'm sure going into any surgery, it's so scary, no matter what. And this especially scary. So what was, I'm sure that was frightening for you. What was your prep like?
Oh God. So prep for me, Every person is different depending on their insurance, because some people can have 2 months to prepare and some can have 6 months. In my case, I had 4 months. So in those 4 months, I had to meet with a dietitian 4 times. I had to meet with a cardiologist, a respiratory doctor,
Yes.
and I had to do a couple with so many tests. And some people don't even have to go through that. But preparing myself each step of the way was just meeting with that dietitian every month and meeting with those doctors every month and just kind of getting my questions answered. And always, they had groups. Every single time you went to a dietitian meeting, they had groups, and they would allow you to just sit down with people that will be going in the same journey with you and basically just guide you through it and let you know that these changes are coming. These feelings are normal. You have to practice certain things with your dietitian to really prepare yourself for this lifestyle. And having those conversations with that group and then bringing it home to family and letting them know that changes are not just with myself, but with everyone around me. It was a transition for sure, but it was 4 months that were so necessary because it's such a huge change.
Could you do me a favor, and for those who don't know, just describe the basics of what is bariatric surgery?
So the bariatric surgery that was performed for me was the vertical, I can't say that word. I say VSG because
it's hard to say. Even for those who have had it.
It's horrible. I cannot even say it, but VSG. So I had VSG, and basically what that procedure is they cut out 80% of your stomach. So they leave a banana-sized stomach, only 20% of it, and it reduces your stomach size to a 4-ounce pouch, which limits how much you're consuming. And that's basically like forcible portion control.
So with that being said, your diet before even going in, do you have to be approved to even be a candidate for that? What is that like?
So you have to have a certain BMI. You have to have, if you don't meet the BMI requirement, you have to have some health conditions. In my case, I met the BMI and I had some health problems at that time. So it was necessary for me to have. My family's also, the family history is very important. Does your family have history of diabetes or other health related things? Those are so important. And yeah, that
I can imagine
the requirements that are needed. You can't just go into a doctor and say, "Hey, I want to lose weight. Give me a sleeve." It doesn't work that way. You definitely have to have some serious health conditions because it's a serious surgery. It's extreme. There are some people that go in with a lower BMI and wind up losing way too much weight that they wind up having to have G-tubes to be fed. It is a serious, serious surgery and not to be taken lightly.
What was it like after? What was recovery like, and how was your life different after you had the surgery?
So recovery for me, I'm very blessed. I did not have any issues during recovery, just normal pains in my stomach. Felt like a truck hit my tummy, and I just did an ab workout for 5 days straight. That's really it for me. The biggest and hardest thing after surgery was learning how to drink and eat, which I did not know would be so difficult. But when your stomach is reduced to a 4-ounce pouch, but it's healing, so it's very swollen, you take a sip, you breathe in too deeply, it hurts. Your stomach is full automatically. And that's something that my brain just couldn't figure out. I just lived an entire life of me gulping and just scarfing down food like a maniac and without reservation. And now I had to learn how to take my time. I had to learn how to respect food. I had to realize that my relationship with food had to change immediately. There was no ifs, ands, or I had no choice. I had to learn the hard way that I had to take my time and had to choose right foods. Certain foods made me completely sick. I couldn't eat meat for a whole year. I actually became pescatarian afterwards. Dietary changes happened. Was not aware of that. So it's a very difficult transition in that regard. So my recovery, it was really more so with the emotional connection with food as opposed to a physical one. But for some people, there's a physical difference where it's like they start having gas pains and so forth. I was fortunate enough to not have that.
Got you. So your diet, that's really interesting to me. I like hearing about that, how your diet completely changes because that's such a big deal. I would think that part of this would be that you would get or be assigned a dietitian.
Hmm.
Does that happen, during this and after?
So I did have a dietitian.
Okay.
And they give you a meal plan. They give you a shopping list. They give you all the resources possible.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Because I know you said prior that you did have one, but then when you said you were struggling with it, I thought, I wonder how far that goes. But they stick with you, right?
they do. There's meetings every few months. You have to meet with your dietitian and your office. They follow up with you regularly to make sure that you're on task because there are different stages after bariatric surgery is performed. There are 4 or 5 different stages depending on the doctor of recovery and with eating. So you first walk out of surgery, you're on straight liquids, then you go into puree, soft foods, then you can start introducing hard foods. And you have to walk through all those stages with your dietitian to make sure that you're ready for the next step. So my dietitian was with me along every step of the way. The thing is, everybody is different and every stomach reacts differently. So although they can provide you with a menu and although they can provide you with a shopping list, for some people that can handle chicken and for some people that cannot, it makes it very difficult. So now I have to rearrange how I get my protein in. I have to rearrange how I'm going to get my liquids in. There are so many different things that I could not consume. And that's where me and my dietitian kind of sat in and I'm like, so what do I do? And it was just like, you like protein shakes? you know?
So you want to drink your meals for a while?
That really was one of the things of consideration because protein is very important for recovery. As we all know, protein is one of the most important macronutrients. And without it, recovery would have been really difficult. So.
That's right. Diet is such a huge part of that.
So what are some of the tips or strategies that you've utilized to make it? Because like I've read up on this to see what percentage of the people that have this surgery aren't able to keep the weight off. And what you've done is exceptional. And that's why we're talking to you. And I'm wondering if you have any tips or strategies or ideas or advice that you might give to others who either are considering it. Let's go first with people who are considering it and then maybe people who've already had it. What advice, tips, strategies, or ideas might you have for them?
The tips for people that are considering it, respect the journey. Really take consideration that your diet's going to change completely. Please take that you have to practice before surgery, taking your time on drinking and eating. You have to set alarms and separate your drinking and eating because you can't drink and eat at the same time. I still cannot, 6 years later, drink water and eat at the same time. It is very difficult to do. You will get sick and it's very hurtful to get sick. So learning that the hard way after surgery, it's uncomfortable. It makes you really have a bad relationship with food. It makes you feel like it was a regretful decision. But with good practice prior to and respecting that, getting in transitioning will be much easier. For those that have had surgery, the best advice I can give is understand that you want to be part of the 30%. 70% of bariatric patients unfortunately regain after a year and a half. The body can only be in a calorie deficit for so long. So after we've had a year of eating minimal amounts of food, our body adjusts and we regain. It is a natural thing. It is really important that respecting that and wanting to be a part of that 30% is learning to accept that it will happen, prepare yourself that it will happen, become active within that first year, and learn about what your body requires to sustain a healthy lifestyle and debunk the excuses.
How big of an issue is hunger and your body's response to hunger? And how long does that last?
When your stomach is smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why I said set alarms. I should have elaborated with setting alarms. So I say set alarms because your body your body is stripped of that alarm system. So when you have bariatric surgery, they take away that sensor from your stomach to your brain that you're actually hungry. You don't know that you're hungry at all. you just realize you're hungry because you forgot that you haven't eaten all day long. That's usually a lot of people. So there's a lot of people that have to get infusions for iron or for other nutrients because they've completely depleted that from themselves. So it's so important to set alarms and remind yourself to drink water every hour. Remind yourself to eat, period. Hold snacks, have water at reach at all times. And that's a habit for everyone. Keeping water at reach is so important. And like literally setting alarms, because your body will not remind you. You will not even know you're hungry. It is something that is foreign, but out of habit, because for at least me and many others, out of habit after surgery, because we're so used to nibbling and eating so often because it's something that we do for comfort.
Oh, yes.
We want to reach for food. So there are some people that, although they're not hungry, they reach for food. And then because they don't realize how quickly they just finished eating, now they're overeating and they're sick again. So the alarms work for both things. So know when to eat and to not overeat. So very important to set alarms.
Right. And there are a lot of side effects that we were talking about earlier. One of those is hair loss, which I was shocked about. I never, when doing research on bariatric surgery and the different types, did I ever know about that. So that was shocking to me. Mm-hmm.
I lost all of my hair. So the first year, every 3-4 months, as the body adjusts and readjusts to these changes that are completely crazy, there are just chunks of hair that falls out. And I will tell you, it is the most scariest sensation to be in a shower and just watching all your hair come out. But I have come up with a whole bunch of tips, and they've been successful for me. I've been able to regrow my hair like 2-3 times. I know it's short. But it is full.
It looks
and
great.
It was very thin.
Was it? Okay.
So
you have a lot of tips for people on your hair.
Yes, all the time. It's something I get questions on hair on a daily basis.
Well, feel free to share some of them. Feel free to share some. What would you say
Tell
your
him
top
about
three? I'm all ears. You got my complete attention.
No, so it's definitely one of the scariest side effects, but it does come back. But it's reminding yourself for your vitamins, your water intake, collagen, protein especially, and just having a healthy diet.
You had to be so determined because the rate of this, like you said, is not high of keeping the weight off. What was your passion behind this?
My kids. At first I thought it was for me. When I did the surgery, I just wanted to change, and I really just wanted to go down a slide with my son because I couldn't fit on slides before. I was so heavy set, I couldn't fit down a slide. So the first thing I thought was I want to go down a slide. But then after a while, I realized it's for my kids. I want to live long for my kids. I want to be strong for my kids. I want to be able to save them in an apocalypse. So it's like things like that just really keep me going and going to the next level and pushing me, because the last thing I want is for my kids to say, "Oh, my mom passed away from a heart attack because she was obese." My mom didn't. That to me, I just would feel like I didn't care enough about myself. And if I don't care enough about myself, then what does that mean to my kids? And I can't stomach that. That thought just keeps me going. Yeah. I will not let health be the reason why I go. I can't.
Well, I love your Instagram page because you show yourself, you show your progress. Not a lot of people who have gone through this would be willing to do that, right? And I always wonder, I'm like, I'm just so proud of you. And every time, of course I follow you, obviously, and you are such an inspiration to so many people. What kind of feedback do you get from the people that follow you?
I feel like everybody's my friend. So I feel like I just get friendly responses. So I've never missed a direct message. I have people that write to me saying, "I don't think you'll ever see this." And I'm like 5 minutes later, like, "Hey girl, what do you need?" So it's one of those things where I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to not have somebody hear me. I know what it's like to have somebody ignore my needs or not be able to help me. And if somebody reaches out to me, I'm your best friend. I'm here with you. I'm holding you through it the entire way from beginning to end. I have not denied anyone. And I think that my followers really see that. There's not one person that has not messaged me and I have not just been like, I'm here openly, like just my page is my diary. My direct messages is just a personal phone call with me and you. If you need me to call you, I have people that say, can you meet me at the gym? Sure. I'll meet them at the gym.
Oh, that's
if
nice.
if they're trusting me that much, how can I not give out? Why can't I give out the help that I wanted somebody to believe in me with? I have to just give it.
Are there any questions that you get frequently that we haven't asked you, or are the questions that, knowing what you know now, you wish you would have asked before you did it?
The questions that I usually get asked are just, what's like the hardest thing after surgery? And I really wish that somebody sat me down about the emotional changes. You go through such a change with people that saw you obese, and there wasn't a lot of love at that time. I barely loved myself, but I really did not get a lot of love from a lot of people. I really wish that somebody sat me down and said, heads up, there's going to be a lot of people that come to you with love now. Are you ready for that? I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't open to it. And that's why I'm so open to it now, because I love myself so much. And I want people that reach out to know what that love is like, because I know how hard it is in that transition. And I really wish somebody sat me down and said, that's probably the hardest emotional change, is seeing people that ignored you now praise you, and people congratulate you. People that may have never paid attention to you all of a sudden want to be your friend. And it's a hard change to swallow at first. And it's something that I don't think many people are ready for, because it really makes you wonder, like, didn't you compliment me for so long? Why are you saying this now? And it gives you a side eye to people that are very close to you, people that said, oh, but you don't need that. You look so good. And then after surgery, oh my God, thank God you made a change. And it becomes very emotionally bearing. And I really wish that somebody sat me down and said, be really ready for the emotional roller coaster, because it is a serious one. You actually, one of the people that you meet before you have surgery is a psychologist, and they ask if you're ready for it, but they don't tell you why.
So what kind of support is out there? What kind of support did you find online and that you can recommend, including you? We already know you're out there.
Yes, you can find me, or there's a lot of forums. There's Facebook groups. On Instagram, there's a bunch of hashtags. VSG community is millions of people that are on there. You'll find meetups that happen on a regular basis. I've hosted a few meetups with a few friends, and it's one of the most beautiful feelings to be in a room full of people that get it. They're all in tune. They all know what you went through. We all kind of have like a similarity, because like we all take a sip and like, you're full. Me too. And I feel good about it. So it's unique. It's definitely a unique feel, and it's somebody that's getting into this lifestyle even before surgery. Going to these meetups and meeting with these people and preparing yourself with that room full of love, because people usually that are in this community are very shy because they've been very subconscious. But when they're in this room full of people that understand you, there's like this layer that comes off of confidence, and you're like, you're my people, and we're all together. And it's just, it's really good to see. And that, I think, is really what threw me into the community. Is I went to this meetup my first month out of surgery. And that's when I said, I'm putting my story out. Like, I'm taking my page off private. I'm going to make it public. I'm documenting the whole thing.
Oh, and that's cool.
All because of that one meetup, because I saw that there was people that understood me. I didn't have to say anything. People just came up and gave me a hug, and they just knew. And that's so key. Go to the meetups. Yeah.
Well, and you can exchange recipes there too.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. Oh, yes. And your recipes. You make some good stuff. Yep. I know. So tell us, tell everybody what your day is like eating your breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you can hit on that, kind of what it is now.
So now these days, I one of the things that I had to do after surgery is I had to focus on my iron. So because we're more deficient on iron and so forth, I always have kale, spinach, or anything that's very like nutrient dense in all of my meals. So my breakfast will be like an omelet with spinach, lots of spinach.
Yes.
My wraps for lunch will have kale or kale salad with like berries. Dinner would usually be with like really more like a heavier protein base. But again, I always have to have like some broccoli or some type of green. There's got to be a dark leafy green in every meal, and there has to be protein in every meal. And all my snacks have to be protein focused as well. So, for example, like for snacks, I always hit like at least 15 to 20 grams of protein per snack, regardless. Okay. And then my meals, I go for like 30 to 40 grams of protein, depending. So I can, if I hit off one, I'm okay. But that's really it. So protein and greens. That's nice. That's my key is protein and greens.
So if someone wants to reach out to you, you mentioned earlier that people reach out to you. What's the best ways for people to follow you and learn more about you and your story?
Always follow me on Instagram at sleevelife_. I also have my YouTube channel where I'm documenting my new journey into my tummy tuck, which is the phase after so much weight has been off. And also on Facebook. Either way, I'm always available. My DM is always open on Instagram.
Perfect. Gizelle, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. That was great information.
Thank you so much for having me, Cara. Thank you, Mason.
Thanks so much. And also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Centrax Nutrition, who provides top quality protein all over the world. You can find them at centrax.com. Also, find this podcast and many others at esrshow.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon.